Nikola Jokic has a good chance of winning a second straight MVP award, and he's having a better statistical season from the previous year when he won the award. In fact, he's on pace to having a historic season. He currently has a 33.0 PER and a 13.7 box plus minus. Now, it's obviously too early to take it seriously, but those are currently the highest mark for both categories in history. And he's also leading the league in value over replacement player rating and win shares per 48 minutes. He's going to have an intriguing case if he keeps this type of production up. However, one of the factors that MVP voters have to take into consideration is narrative. And that doesn't apply to only the storylines of that season, but also how they would be viewed historically. There have only been 12 players in the history of the league that have won the award in back-to-back seasons. Do we think he deserves to be in that company? So that got me thinking about what players missed out on winning the MVP award in consecutive seasons. It's not an extensive list, but there are some players that should have gotten the award. First, we have Wilt Chamberlain. He won his first MVP in his rookie season, the 1959/60 season. He averaged 37.6 points per game on 46% shooting and 27 rebounds per game. The following season, he posted even better numbers. He averaged 38.4 points per game on 51% shooting and 27.2 rebounds per game. There were 8 total games where he scored over 50 points during the season. Most notably, he had a season-high 67 points on 73% shooting and 31 rebounds against the New York Knicks. There was another game where he had 56 points on 54% shooting and 45 rebounds. Just crazy numbers. He obviously led the league in points per game, and he had the highest field goal percentage, win shares per 48 minutes, and PER. However, the players of the league picked Bill Russell to win the MVP. I assume it had a lot to do with the team's success. The Celtics won a league-high 57 games, and the Philadelphia Warriors won 46 games, 3 games less than the prior year. If this would have happened today, I think there's no question that the media members would have chosen Wilt to win the MVP, and he would have easily won the following year as well, when he averaged, only 50 points per game. Nothing too impressive. Next up, we have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He won 6 MVP awards for his career, and he missed out on having even more. He got snubbed in the 1972/73 season. He won the previous 2 seasons, and the league decided to give the award to Dave Cowens. They gave it to him because the Boston Celtics won the most games in NBA history with 68 wins. The Sixers also won that many games in 1967. So since they had an historic season, they figured they would give it to the quote-unquote best player of the team. And they even screwed that up. Cowens wasn't the best player on the team. John Havlicek was. Here are their per-game numbers and advanced metrics for that season. If we're talking about narrative, why wouldn't you give it to Hondo, who never got the honor of winning the MVP award? But the bigger crime is that they gave the award to an undeserving player. Kareem was the obvious choice that year. He led the Milwaukee Bucks to 60 wins that season. So they were one of the best teams in the league. And he averaged for the season 30.2 points per game on 55% shooting, 16.1 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game. There were 4 total games where he scored over 40 points and grabbed over 20 rebounds. And he led the league in win shares, offensive win shares per 48 minutes, PER, and he was second in points per game. It was just an atrocity. Kareem was snubbed big time for this season. Next up, we have Michael Jordan. Now you could argue that he had a few seasons where he should have won in consecutive seasons. He was undoubtedly the best player in the world in 1989 and 1993, but his teams did underachieve. The Bulls in '89 won only 47 games, and then the Bulls went from a 67-win team to winning only 57 games in 1993. So I get the logic behind giving the award to Magic Johnson in 89 and Charles Barkley in 93. But giving the award to Karl Malone in 1997 was indefensible. The Utah Jazz wasn't even the best team in the league. The Bulls won 69 games that season, the third most wins in NBA history. And Jordan led the league in points per game, win shares, offensive win shares per 48 minutes, box plus minus, offensive box plus minus, and value over replacement player rating. There is no excuse for the league not to pick Jordan to win the MVP award that season. He should have won the MVP in 3 straight years, and to be alongside players like Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, and Larry Bird as the only players to do so. Next up, we have Shaquille O'Neal. The only time he won the MVP was in 2000, and I don't believe that he deserved to win the MVP award in the 1999 lockout season. In fact, he wasn't even selected for the All-NBA first team. So the year in question is the 2001 season. We all know that this was the year that Allen Iverson won the award. Check out the per game numbers between his MVP season in 2000 and the numbers he put up in 2001. Don't they look almost identical? Shaq was putting up essentially the same numbers from the prior year. And if you want an example of a dominant performance, I can point to a game he had against the Washington Wizards when he had 40 points on 60% shooting, 17 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 blocks, and 3 steals. He was a monster that season. Now from an analytical standpoint, Shaq was not as dominant as he was in the 2000 season. In fact, very few players in the history of the league were. But he led the league in various categories. He led the league in PER, win shares, and box plus minus. He also finished second in offensive win shares per 48 minutes, value over replacement player rating, and offensive box plus minus. He finished third in points per game and rebounds per game, and he finished fourth in blocks per game. Allen Iverson didn't finish in the top 5 in any of those categories except for points per game, where he led the league. And although the Lakers had a rather disappointing season compared to the previous year, they still won 56 games, which was tied for the second best record in the league. Now the case for Allen Iverson was simple. The Sixers had the same record as the Lakers did, and the Sixers' second best player was Theo Ratliff for one half of the season and Dikembe Mutombo for the second half. The Lakers had Kobe Bryant, who finished fourth in the league in points per game. So I can see the logic behind that. But if we're talking about who had the better season, you would have to go with Shaq. It's possible that some of the media members thought Shaq would end up getting more cracks at the MVP award, but unfortunately, he never won the award again. So he has fewer MVPs than players like Steve Nash, which is something that he rarely brings up. The last player we're going to bring up is LeBron James. The biggest snub that he ever got was in 2011, the first year with the Miami Heat. The award was given to Derrick Rose. He had a great season, no question about it, but this one is a head scratcher. LeBron averaged for the season 26.7 points per game on 51% shooting, 7.5 rebounds per game, and 7 assists per game. Not monster numbers, but they're better than what Rose did that season. The only thing that he did better at was in passing, as he averaged 7.7 assists per game. But then when we look at the advanced metrics, it's going to knock down any case you could give to Derrick Rose. LeBron James led the league in win shares, offensive win shares per 48 minutes, value over replacement player rating, PER, box plus minus, and he was tied for first in offensive box plus minus with Derrick Rose. LeBron also finished second in points per game and third in defensive win shares. Now this is not to say that Derrick Rose didn't deserve serious considerations for the award. In fact, he finished right behind LeBron in a lot of these categories. But when you're the league leader in nearly every statistical category, that's probably a big hint in who should win the MVP award. Why do we feel the need to complicate these things when it's so simple? And LeBron had some pretty big games that year as well. Like when he had 51 points on 68% shooting, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists against the Orlando Magic. The only case that you could have made for Derrick Rose is the fact that the Bulls won a league best 62 games during the year, and the Heat managed to win only 58 games. And that's considering the fact that the Heat had players like Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And we can't forget that Wade had a very impressive year that season. In fact, he finished 4th in points per game. On the other hand, the Bulls had players like Joakim Noah, Carlos Boozer, and Luol Deng. They're all all-star caliber players, but they ain't Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. But that's still no excuse to snub LeBron James from winning the MVP that season. But that's just a gift and the curse of playing with such great players. On one hand, they almost guarantee that you'll be in title contention, and that's why the Heat destroyed the Bulls in the conference finals and the playoffs. But when it comes to individual accolades, we tend to favor the player with less help. This is a classic example of that. If they would have picked rationally, LeBron James would have been the only player in history to win the MVP in 5 straight years. He got robbed of making history. What a shame. Will Nikola Jokic be added to the list at the end of the season? Are there other players that I miss that got snubbed from winning the MVP in consecutive seasons? Let me know in the comment section. And here's why I present the special gift that I have for all NBA fans. Coming soon, within the next few weeks, I have a new book titled The All-Time Greatest NBA Book. It's where I count down the all-time greatest teams, players, playoff moments, playoff runs from a player, and more. It's a detailed analysis of the rankings of the players in the all-time great teams. I skip the history of the teams and players, which is something we all know very well, and we go straight to the nitty-gritty. It's something that other books of this kind fail to do, but this book will have an abundance of information that will be at your disposal to help you the next time you have a GOAT debate with your friends and family. For more information about the release and content of this book, I'll ask if you can subscribe to my Basketball Universe channel. Also, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed today's content. Thanks for listening.